Hi, I'm George Nordhaus. As usual, we're going to be talking about Monday morning and all the good things that are happening in human resource stuff. We really don't have time to do all that, but Don Phin is a guy that really knows a lot about agencies in general. But today, let me tell you what he's going to be talking about. He's going to be talking about moving from the broker to the consultant. This is a hugely important subject for many, many reasons, not the least of which is it's part of the McKinsey report. That's exactly what they're saying. We have to do that. And Don's going to tell you why. Let me tell you about Don just for a second. Don Phin's very well known in our industry. He's an attorney since '83. I've known him for many years. He's president of HR That Works. I'll tell you a little bit about that before we end. He's speaker and consultant. The last time we were together, he was here in Santa Fe speaking to a group of agents, and of course, I'd heard him so many times, it was like old home day. He lives out in Coronado, California, which is in Southern California, and it's a beautiful spot. And as I said, we've known each other for many years. But he is the recognized authority in human resources for independent insurance agents across the country. Don, what are we going to be talking about today now?
Oh, thanks, George. It's always a pleasure hanging out with you anytime, whether it's Santa Fe or California, wherever it is, or online like today. We're going to talk about the changing rules of the game, and I enjoy the Seth Godin quote up there. Many people are kind of afraid of moving into something new. Some people like me just love change. I go nuts if I don't have any of it, but as most folks are not crazy about change. They want that stability. And with all of what's going on around us, we either have to move forward to this change, or, as I'm going to share with you, be left behind. So the typical broker approach today can leave you pretty frustrated. You know, I purposely took this slide picture here with the Rolodex deal. I remember my old Rolodex, and many of us on this might remember it too. And if you can actually remember a Rolodex, I'm really speaking to you today.
Yeah, well, you're speaking to me, and another good thing about that picture, incidentally, is the guy's left-handed, and all left-handed people are brilliant. Go ahead.
So let's talk about what I mean by the broker approach, okay? And here's some bullet points. First of all, we have the best prices in town, so it's selling on price. You know, it's all about how little you can pay for the coverage, so you can say you got that over with, and I got a cheap price, and now I can go back to running my business. We're not interested in support tools, but we'll throw in real support. We'll throw in a few value-added tools. So when I started HR That Works for example, when this transition first started, everybody said, well, I sell on price, and here's a password, you know, and we realized 10 years later that doesn't work all that well. You know, so much of the sales in this environment was very relationship-oriented, you know, taking somebody to dinner, taking for a round of golf. That's how you built a relationship, and hopefully you got their insurance at the end of all that. And once you got their insurance, you basically didn't have to worry about them until you got in touch with them for it's time for our annual golf game, you know, because you've got renewal in a month. And I'll keep my fingers crossed and really hope that you refer me to your friends, and that because they're going to like me as much as you do. And that's the approach that many people wish were still here, many people still playing with, but I know for a fact it isn't working so well. And the type of clients you get with that approach, all they're interested in is getting things on the cheapest price. You basically turn into a Walmart. So the reason it's broken is today we can get so much access to information. There's many books that are talking about the seller is no longer in control, but the buyer is. So we can get information on anything. And the competition you have is just not with the other guy that might take somebody to lunch across town. It's with nationwide firms. It's with online firms. So, and people don't seem to have time for that today. Who's got time? Who's the last person that you know have said, I can't wait to go to lunch and play golf with you because I've got all the time in the world to do that? This once-a-year stuff is a very transactional relationship. It's not really building a relationship. The relationship is truly just around that transaction. You get a difference between a product expertise, yes, I know this product and I can sell it on a cheap price, versus I understand your business and how this product fits within your business, and that's a whole different conversation. Then you're a strategic advisor. It really ignores the uninsurable risk. So we're both friends with Roger Sitkins. Roger's been talking forever about the importance of understanding both the insurable and the uninsurable risks especially in a lot of fields like the human resource one that I deal with. The uninsurable risks dwarf the insurable ones. And you look at the quality of client that you get with this type of approach. When everybody else is going, we're value added, if you want to say, hey, I'm the guy that sells on price, forget all this value added, you're going to get business, but is that the business that you want is the real question.
Don, let me just make another point about that. Go back to that just for a second, if you will.
Sure.
That easy access to information. One of these the first one of these Monday mornings we did was so interesting to me because the first one of these mini webinars, we used to have 3 minutes, but now we do this because we couldn't get the message across in 3 minutes. But one of the major things was easy access to information, any information, and a lot of agents, and I can understand that we were CPCUs and all that, blah blah blah, and we had all the basic information. But one of the speakers, his name was Mike Manus. He said that any information that you need in the world is going to be right on that little computer right in your hand. And anybody, and eventually in 3 or 4 or 5 years, all the information is going to be available to anybody. Maybe it's not 3 or 4, maybe it's quicker than that. So I really think that sets the scene, and everything else follows. Thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah, and the thing is, George, when you're a consultant, you're going after information that's not available to the public. That's the point. It's an inquiry. It's a true appreciation for how people are running their business. It's not a cookie-cutter approach to doing things.
Good, I like it.
So you're actually developing information that doesn't exist. And the reality is, if you just come in with this old school approach, you're going to be looked at as a dinosaur. And dinosaurs went extinct, okay? And eventually brokers who just sell on price will either have clients that you don't want to have, or they'll go extinct. That's the end result.
Amen.
So let's talk about a consultative approach. And this is something that I had to go through. I was 17 years in litigation, and then I quit litigation and decided to do more of the proactive type work and the consulting. It takes a little while to get up to speed. This is not something you just put on the hat and say, all right, now I'm a consultant. Just like anything else, where Malcolm Gladwell talks about 10,000 hours to be good at something. Well, it took me about 3 years to be really good as a consultant. So any of you going through this transition know that you have to give time its due, but if you just do the right things, by the end of those 3 years, you'll be at the top of the game. Most people are not willing to put together any type of long-term effort today. It's all instant gratification. So what do I mean by a consultative approach? First of all, it requires real expertise, and you can't be an expert without learning. So I know my brokers very well. Most of them are not well read. Most of them last read a book when they graduated college, or a business book, and that's the truth of it. When I asked them what, the top-selling business book, for example, years ago was Good to Great. Everybody, Good to Great, Good to Great. I said, how many of you brokers, raise your hand, have read Good to Great? And maybe 1 out of 5. The single most commonly read book by CEOs in the United States, and 1 out of 5 brokers have read it. I mean, how serious are you about business if that's the case? So in order to be attractive to somebody who's high-end themselves, they want to work with experts. I like to work with experts. I don't want to work with the generic guy. I want to work with the guy who knows more than anybody else in this field. And you can't do that without being an intense learner today. And many people drag and kick their way into learning. So something like the Affordable Care Act comes together, and you hear all the wanting, oh, I got to learn this. if 9 out of 10 people are going, oh, I've got to learn this, and you're the guy that goes, oh, this is awesome. This gives me an opportunity to have a competitive edge because I'm going to outlearn everybody else like that. I still play competitive volleyball. I know that when I'm in the gym, I'm working out harder than anybody I'm going to play in that tournament with next week. When you're studying your material harder than anybody that you're going to sell against, you're going to have the same confidence I do in the tournament. So the fact is, this education is very important. Also, the uninsurable approach. So if you're selling work comp, there's a lot of uninsurable risks around safety and things like that. If you're selling EPL, there's a lot of uninsurable risks. If you're selling benefits, why do people even have benefits in the first place? Is it helping people to hire better? Is it helping to retain better? How do you know that? Is it motivating them? So there's a lot of other exposures that an intelligent person can help bring into a company. You sell on value. As Roger says, you don't give away anything for free because you take the value out of it. So one of the mistakes everybody's made is they get all these programs, whether it's Zywave or HR that works, Benergy, you name it, Think HR, all the programs out there. They give people a password, and they think they've done something for them. The reality is you charge for these things. It's an expansion of your services. It's not a giveaway.
I like that.
And it's all about the support behind things like this, and you should get paid for it because you're going to produce a bottom line result and you should be able to know how to express that fact. Now, you end up positioning yourself as a strategic partner. That means somebody not just protecting the company's money, but helping to grow the company's money. Okay, same thing in the HR field. You're either an administrator or you're a strategic partner. A strategic partner is somebody who actually helps grow the company. If there's one thing I've learned after doing roughly 350 CEO workshops, the very people you guys want to get in front of, I speak to it for half a day, and they woke me up to the reality of the greatest risk they're concerned about is not growing their business. Every legal risk, every insurable risk is something that they just want to, okay, you take care of it so I can go back to growing my business. So until you're viewed as somebody who helps grow a business, you'll never be viewed as a strategic partner. That's the reality of it. Because that's what the number one risk of a business owner is not growing the business. Everything else is a distant second. And you think of yourself in your own business life. And the last thing is you don't sell on price, you sell based on fee proposals. So as I'll talk about Alan Weiss type approach, an ABC proposal, the A proposal is pretty much naked insurance. The B proposal is here's some programs and support tools. The C proposal is we come in and we do things for you. So that ABC approach, I see my most mature agencies that I've worked with over the years all moving towards fee proposals.
I'll be darned. I didn't realize that. I'm learning.
It's the greatest growth that I've seen happen, George, and I can show you some statistics to that. First of all, when you're a consultant, you can't be a know-it-all. You want to be as focused in your information as you can, so you focus on a specialty. So, for example, you might be somebody that sells work comp to hotel properties, and you're known as a person who sells work comp to hotel properties, or cyber liability to IT firms, or something of that nature. You focus on a specialty both horizontally and vertically. So horizontally, what's the product you're going to specialize in? Vertically, what market are you going to specialize? And you become known as the person at market. One of my favorite people like that is Kim Fricke. I don't know if you know Kim out of Michigan.
Sure, I remember.
She was known as the person to go for liability insurance when you're in the horse trade. Whether you're showing horses, selling horses, building saddles, she was so niched in that everybody went to Kim all around the country. So program business is a perfect example of focusing on a specialty. You have to speak and write, and I know few brokers who are natural authors. So it's a very easy thing to do. You get out a dictation machine, you just talk. You're all great talkers, you're great salespeople, okay? So you talk, just like you're talking to somebody, and then you have somebody type it up, whether it's a local college kid, somebody at your office, somebody on Elance. It's going to cost you $1 a minute to have somebody type something up. So if you speak for half an hour, it might cost you $30 for somebody to type it up. It's a lot better than you punching at the keypad, okay?
Hey, Don.
You can put that stuff on things. Yes, please.
Yeah, Michael McLean, who runs something called Ultimate Millionaires, suggests the same thing on a specialty, that what you do is write, but you write a book on the specialty, how to insure IT firms for whatever, and write a book, and you send that to all your customers. And it doesn't really cost that much anyway. And I hadn't thought of agents writing a book on a specialty, but that works so perfectly with what you're saying.
Not only that, then maybe you can write a book and bring a couple of authors that help in that area, but not the insurance conversation. So how to market in IT, or how to do this in IT, and you're the person who talks about insurance in IT. So that automatically puts you into a network of these other authors. So that's been around forever, as you know, that whole approach. Take advantage of it. And then there's the business about the triangular relationship. So, for example, I'm doing that with George right now. It's a way for me to get in front of agencies, right? So if you're going to specialize in hotel properties, then who puts on the biggest hotel conferences? Who's another vendor to the hotel industry that you might be able to work with? Maybe somebody who supplies linen. That's a classic example. How can you work with that person to help them create some value added to their clients, thereby getting you in front of them? So that whole triangular thing, instead of going directly to the client, work through a third party that can bring the introduction to you. Again, the uninsurable exposures in the area, not just the narrowly focused insurance ones, because insurance is part of a puzzle, so you understand the interrelationships to the other parts of the puzzle. Again, position yourself as an advisor and strategic partner. If I look at your web pages, would it talk about cheapest price? You know, would that be the most important thing? Or would it be about the greatest value that you can add in spelling out an understanding of the client's needs are? And again, you do the fee proposals with the ABC options. So now, when I went through this transition, nobody's writing or thinking about being a consultant is better than Alan Weiss. The guy's got an ego to match his writing, but he deserves it. Okay, so all of my agencies, all of their brokers who want to go in this direction, I have them all look at these two books. It's also the $1 Million Speaker. These books have helped me out tremendously myself, helped me learn how to write proposals the right way, learn how to get the foot in the door the right way, learn how to have the conversation differently than I did before.
That's beautiful.
And the last thing to share with you is it's about a willingness to put yourself into discomfort. And very few people are willing to put themselves into discomfort so that they can grow. But there's no growth without discomfort. And this quote from Paulo Coelho is one of my favorites. Only the mediocre are truly comfortable. So the question for you is, do you want to be truly comfortable, or do you want to be an expert? Do you want to be awesome? Do you want to be excellent? Or do you just wish that things were the way they were always in the past and turn into a dinosaur in the process?
Great advice, Don. Absolutely wonderful. Let's talk about, let's end here by showing how people can talk to you. Don, let me ask you, I could give a plug for, and I will, I mean, for HR That Works, because I think it's an excellent thing. But the fact that tell us for just a minute what HR That Works is.
Okay. Long story short, those CEOs that I talked about getting in front of, they all run private company businesses. So out of our 3,000 companies that use our program, 2/3 of them are between 25 and 100 employees, and 95% of them between 15 and 500. So you can see that's pretty much, I don't have the Aons and the Marshes on today. I have brokers on today that's your client base size too. So we put together a program aimed at those size companies that both helps deal with EPL risks like the sexual harassment and doing employee handbooks and personnel forms and things like that. But just as importantly, we help grow companies, help people hire better, help people produce better, help people retain better, help people train better. And we have 80 agencies around the country that use our program as their value added, and they're going through a migration. I watched many of them when we first started the program years ago, 13 years ago now. Everybody just gave everything away for free. My most mature clients now wrap up these services within their fee proposals. Others will still sell on price but charge separately for their tools. And I watched that migration going on because we realize psychologically if you give something away, there's no value in it. So we do want to give away information to get people to know us, but once they're ready to do business with us, that's when you stop giving things away, okay? And because if you don't charge for these programs, you can't support them, and if you don't properly support them, they don't get utilized, and if they don't get utilized, they're valueless only as long as you got the time that you got the BOR, and that's where they stop.
So you're giving all this basic HR information. I'm asking this, but I know the answer to it to these 80 agencies constantly. And that constantly feed, and you've got so much, it's unbelievable. And they in turn go back to their customers with this, and they become really the HR authorities for their
They do, because so many of these companies, George, don't have real HR, like most of your brokers. You know, you have somebody wearing 3 hats. They're so busy with payroll, new hire reporting, and benefits administration, they never do anything that actually helps grow a business. And so whether there's somebody who's wearing 3 hats or somebody's full-time doing those duties, there's very little strategic thinking at most of these companies. So it's a real competitive advantage for your client when they have their HR act together and their competition does not. which is a real, because usually the competition does not just like them, and when you finally do, what a difference. You look at your own personal experience of where you like to do your business, chances are they're going to have good personnel management, whether it's a Southwest Airlines or a Costco or any place like that. You like to shop and buy where you have a good client experience. That's all about management. So if you don't like the word HR, use the word management. We're talking about the same thing.
It's a beautiful thing, and it's a beautiful service, and I have never talked to an agent who uses it that wasn't happy with it. So, Don, I thank you very much for this whole presentation. You developed it at my request, and that's unusual because you've got so many presentations that you could have used, but this one goes to the heart of the matter, and you did it beautifully. My last word to people is don't forget to go back to the email, and you could go to the archive there, press on the archive, and then you'll see a list starting with Don's presentation here, and not only a list, but the information about it. And you can go right there. It's on YouTube, actually, and you'll be able to see all of these Monday mornings. It's a great thing, and pass it on to your employees, your staff, your friends, neighbors, and everybody else. You'll also see a link there to ICC's, that's Insurance Community Center's, program called Quiz Flash, and it's fun every week. You could take it. It's a different subject. There's no cost to it. It's just a lot of fun. And then the errors and omissions monthly or weekly tip is always good. That goes to Agents of America, and it's a beautiful thing too because you're constantly getting new ideas. And for everybody else, yes, Don. Yeah.
Before I let you go, here's a challenge to any of the brokers. You all run businesses yourself, so if any of you ever have an HR challenge, I'm sure you have something like that going on right now, shoot a quick email to me, and I'll send you a tool out of HR that works to help solve it. Okay?
Oh, that's a beautiful thing. Thank you, Don. That's a nice offer. You're a good man, Charlie Brown. I'll see you later on. And, folks, I'll see you next Monday morning, okay?
George, you're awesome. Thank you.